Welcome to College Smart Radio, helping you bring into focus the true cost of college and how to tackle the runaway cost of financing a college education. College Smart Radio is hosted by Beatrice Schultz, a certified financial planner and founder of Westface College Planning. Now, here's your host for College Smart Radio, Beatrice Schultz.
Welcome to College Smart Radio. Figuring out how to choose the right college, find scholarships, and navigate financial aid can be overwhelming. There are so many sites on the internet that offer advice, it can be difficult to navigate through them to find the best unbiased resource for students. On today's College Smart Radio program, I'll be discussing a new resource which prides itself on bringing unbiased information to students to empower them to make better decisions about their higher education. Hi, I'm Beatrice Schultz. Welcome to our weekly show, College Smart Radio, where we help you tackle the runaway costs of a college education. Our show is all about bringing up-to-date and practical advice to parents who are dealing with the cost of a college education for their kids. With many traditional private schools costing over $60,000 a year, a UC costing $35,000 a year, and a California State University running $25,000 a year, parents need more help than ever. We bring you that help by sharing ways to pay less, tapping into financial aid, and prioritizing your source of funds to make sure you get through the most expensive years of your life. Based on my own education and experience, I share my insights with you week in and week out. I hold a Bachelor of Science degree in Chemical Engineering and a Master's degree in International Business. I am a certified financial planner and the owner of the San Carlos-based college planning business, Westface College Planning. I host workshops and webinars on college planning, and I consult with parents on a daily basis. In addition to my insights, I bring in experts in many areas of the college process, from educators, counselors, financial professionals, admissions officers, parents, and even students. You'll learn firsthand the ins and outs of how to pay for college and survive financially. In addition to our show, you can find lots of powerful information at our website, collegesmartradio.com. We have many articles that I've authored with up-to-date information on navigating the waters of paying for the runaway cost of college. We have a monthly e-newsletter full of content about college planning. We also have posted a glossary of key terms used in the world of college planning, terms like EFC, total cost of attendance, FAFSA, and so forth. And we have a link to our free community parent workshops and webinars that I host to teach parents how to pay for college and how the financial aid system really works. So let's get into today's show. When you have a question related to college and you type college, financial aid, or scholarships into your browser search, you have so many links that pop up in your search page that it can be overwhelming to know where to go for accurate information. I just typed in financial aid into Google, and it offered me 479,000 results. FAFSA.ed.gov did come up near the top of my search just after all the paid advertiser sites. My guest on today's College Smart Radio is Joseph Audette, the VP of Education at NerdScholar, a service of NerdWallet that empowers students to make better decisions about their higher education. NerdWallet is a startup located in San Francisco, and over the course of the past year, they've built a suite of tools to help students choose the right school, find scholarships, and navigate their financial aid. They pride themselves on being an unbiased resource for students. Joe Audette is a graduate of MIT, and as the son of two lifelong teachers, Joe worked his way through college and now strives to pass on his lessons from paying off his student loans 13 years ahead of schedule. Hi, Joe. Welcome to College Smart Radio.
Hi, Beatrice. Thanks for having me on.
Well, thanks so much for joining us today. Maybe we can start a little bit about your background and maybe then kind of lead us into how you got into NerdWallet. NerdScholar.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like you said, my parents were both teachers. So, growing up, the value of education was installed within me at an early age. And going through college, my father always would tell me, education is what you make of it. And knowing that I was very passionate about the automotive industry and thinking about wanting to get into race cars, MIT was an obvious choice for me from an engineering perspective. But it was also one of the most expensive choices that I had. My parents really wanted me to go to the school that was going to make my dreams come true, so we figured out a way to finance my education, and that involved taking out loans, searching for various scholarships, as well as me working several different jobs during my 4 years at school. I was very committed to minimizing my debt during those 4 years and ended up with about $38,000 in student loans. That's about the equivalent of 1 year of school at MIT, so I felt as though while that's still a substantial amount of debt, I knew that graduating from a school like MIT, I would have the ability to pay that off. And that's exactly what happened over the next few years. I did kind of achieve my dreams going into the automotive industry and designing concept cars, but I felt that there was a lot more that I could achieve. There was many lessons that I learned from my years, not only in school, but also paying off my student debt after school. And I really wanted to kind of give some of those lessons back to other students who are going through the same similar situation as me, and helping them not only finance their education, but choose the best school for them. So that's why we founded NerdScholar. And if you look at a lot of the tools that we're building and we're creating and making available to students, those are the same tools that I wanted when I was a student, and I think can benefit students today.
Well, it's a great story, and I love the fact, I think that's a really big issue for students to be thinking about the fact that managing how many loans they take to take the minimum that they need to, and then putting together a plan to pay the money back. If you graduated from MIT with a job that paid you more than $38,000, then you could pay with 10% of your salary, pay that back over 10 years. And with more, if you can pay it back in a shorter amount of time, or even with that amount, I think families need to manage it, or not be scared of it, but need to understand that it can be part of the process. And I think you're a great success story. So NerdScholar, so tell us a little bit about who runs it, how it got started, how long it's been around.
So one of the best things about going to college and kind of meeting new people is the community that you make and friends that you make at college. And it turns out that a lot of my friends from college are starting successful companies here in the San Francisco Bay Area. So I was talking with one of my good friends that I lived with in college, and he had a startup that was starting to gain some momentum. That's NerdWallet. And NerdWallet is a site that builds tools to help people make better decisions about their personal finances. And we got to talking, and he was considering kind of branching out into new areas. And I kind of talked to him a little bit about education. I said, hey, what if you take the same approach that you take with personal finances and apply that to student financial aid and the college decision process? And NerdWallet really kind of bases its entire methodology on the services we offer, making data available to the consumer in a very accessible and transparent way. So basically, providing tools and resources that help people make better decisions. And obviously, people need that in their personal finances, making decisions about buying a car, buying a house, or balancing their budget. It's the same sort of kind of processes that you do when you're figuring out what school to go to. And that's kind of how we came up with the idea for NerdScholar. And he's given me a lot of, basically, at that point, they brought me on at NerdWallet to develop the division of NerdScholar. So NerdScholar is a service of NerdWallet. We are kind of a nonprofit within a commercial company. So we get to do a lot of really interesting things for students, not having to worry about advertising or making money. We really get to offer a pure resource for students. So you're not going to see any advertising on any of NerdScholar's tools.
Well, that's great. Like I said, with Google, it can get confusing when you're mixing your advertising with your actual data that you have. So how would a student use NerdScholar?
So basically, we are freely available on the web, and none of our tools require any fees to use. They're freely available. We also don't require any personal information to use. So you don't have to log in. You don't have to create a profile and give us all your personal information to use our tools. If you land on our scholarship tool, within 2 clicks, you can be looking at a scholarship and applying for that award. And that's one of the reasons that we really wanted to, when I talk about accessibility, we wanted to build resources that were easily accessible for students. There's a lot of sites out there that try to manipulate students by selling their information to third parties or putting them towards maybe suboptimal degree programs. And we really wanted to represent a pure resource for students, something that they can come to, get the information they need, and then make the best decisions about their future.
All right, well, let's talk a little bit about the scholarship tool then, which you just mentioned. So a student, at what point in high school, if we're thinking about kids that are just starting in college, should they start looking in the scholarship tool or start looking for scholarships, would you say?
I think students should be looking for scholarships all the time.
So can a freshman in high school be starting to look for a college scholarship? Absolutely.
I think I know that there are some awards out there for freshmen in high school, but also you want to be thinking about how can I best position myself for the scholarships later on. So if you're a freshman in high school, think about what clubs might be very attractive, what programs might be very susceptible to getting you more scholarships. So types like community service or even doing athletics or having leadership positions, all those different sort of extracurricular activities, in addition to your grades, obviously, can help you be better positioned when you're a junior, senior in high school for scholarships.
I think that's great advice I even recommend that freshmen print out the common application so they understand what questions they're going to have to answer 3 years from now. So in the scholarship, how can you offer and feel comfortable that you're offering accurate information and that it's unbiased? How does NerdScholar manage that?
So the first thing that we did is we went out and I have a team that's actually going out searching the internet and finding all those scholarship awards. So when we initially launched the tool, we had about 1,000 different scholarships in there, and now we have over 7,000 verified scholarships. So we have a very comprehensive list of awards, and this isn't stuff that is out of date or maybe is a very small pool of money or something like that. We're looking for the major scholarship awards that are out there.
And does that mean they're national, or do you also do local ones just to the Bay Area, or are those pretty much national web-based scholarships that are the ones that you're identifying?
We have both.
Okay.
So we actually have large national scholarships. We also have more localized ones, and you can actually search on our tool for specific scholarships for California. Or if you want, you can even put in a keyword, San Francisco or different colleges, and see what awards might be available. The other thing that brings up the other point of what we wanted to do with this tool is make all these easily searchable. So we have a pretty high level filtering mechanism on our site that allows you to kind of start high and work down towards scholarships that you might qualify for. So you can search by ethnicity, you can search by school year, by location, GPA, and then you have a free form to put in whatever keywords you want, whether that's if you have a skill such as duck calling, there's a scholarship out there. Or if you want to search for, specific sports or specific schools, you could even do that.
Well, I think very valuable, and families often get concerned about what scholarships and what information they should be sharing. So just as a reminder, everyone, if you have to pay for a scholarship, it's not a good scholarship to apply for. I'm going to take a break right now. You're with us on College Smart Radio, where my guest today is Joseph Audette, the VP of Education at NerdScholar, and we'll be right back with Joe Audette on College Smart Radio.
For more information on today's topic, visit collegesmartradio.com or call area code 650-587-1559. College Smart Radio continues in moments on AM 1220 KDOW. Contact Beatrice Schultz at collegesmartradio.com or call area code 650-587-1559. Now, back to College Smart Radio with your host Beatrice Schultz on AM 1220 KDOW.
Welcome back to College Smart Radio, where we help you tackle the runaway costs of college. I'm Beatrice Schultz. I'm talking with my guest, Joseph Audette, VP of Education at NerdScholar. We all know that college is expensive and will most likely be some of the most costly years for a family. So understanding how to navigate the college process to save everywhere you can is going to be a really smart thing to know. You want to make sure you have the right information. And to help families be on this radio show, I host community workshops live and via webinar several times a month that explain the costs of various colleges, how the financial aid systems work, what tools you can use to help you go through the process, and other things to consider to prepare yourself for this tremendous expense. You can find my workshop schedule and register at collegesmartradio.com. During the break, Joe and I were just talking a little bit about the jobs that Joe did while he was in college to make some money and to be able to allow himself not to take on as much debt. Joe, do you want to share a couple of those with our audience?
Sure. I'm not necessarily proud of all these, but they're fun and they're interesting. I'll say I never wanted to be one of those students who called home asking for money. That was kind of a pledge that I made to myself early on. And unfortunately, I made a lot of mistakes in terms of, like any young student would, in terms of managing my own budget. And I fell victim to a few scams while I was a young freshman, which put me into a financial bind. So I needed some money quick. So I looked for various different ways to make money on campus. The first thing I did is I actually found a campus job, and it was a great campus job. I actually worked in the office of the president. So I was the guy who was making copies and going around the whole campus making deliveries. But it was pretty cool to be like in the office of the president at your institution, seeing kind of how the school gets run,
absolutely.
at a high level. And there was some cool things there too. I got really great seats from my parents for graduation, and I got to meet Bill Cosby too when he came in to interview the president. So those were some fun things. It was actually a pretty good paying job. I got like $10 an hour, and it worked within my schedule too. So they were very flexible. So that was a great job, just to kind of do a baseline to get me a few day-to-day funds. I also, in my spare time, I kind of picked up a hobby, and that was DJing. I'd always wanted to learn how to spin records and maybe become a party DJ. And actually what happened with that is I actually started to make a fair amount of money just spinning at the parties I was going to go to anyway. So
is it still called spinning when they're not records anymore? Or?
I don't know. Personally, I still prefer to use the old school vinyl.
All right, I like that.
It's gone very digital, even though I try to keep it analog. But that was actually very lucrative, and that actually enabled me to save thousands on my loans, especially later in school when I would be DJing 2 gigs a weekend. Making a couple $100 per gig. That was great college money. And, being in Boston, there's no shortage of college parties.
Yeah, that's great. Well, those are great examples. And those are all kind of, as we're listening to all these shows, I'm hoping everyone's taking away some tips on you got to be creative, and you want to be creative. And if you want to go to the colleges of your choice, it's great and fun to have these jobs and to not necessarily take on more debt than you need to. So if we get back to NerdScholar, tell us about some of the other tools. We talked a little bit about the scholarship search tool. What other tools are there that you would recommend students would come to the site to find? So
we also have a student loan calculator, and it's actually 3 calculators in one. And what it does is very similar to a lot of the other calculators that are out there. You can estimate your loan payments. And it's very good to know ahead of time what your obligation is going to be when you graduate. It's very important to know, when you're a student and you hear, oh, I'm going to take out $10,000 in loans, no big deal. But you should know that when you graduate from college, you're going to have a monthly payment of $100 or a couple $100. It's good to know that ahead of time. We also have a tool that enables students to...
Actually, let me ask you a couple questions about the loan tool. So in that loan tool, can you have multiple loans? Like if you have some that are student loans at 6.8%, subsidized loans at 3.4%, where the interest does not accrue? I mean, or does it manage more to starting with a lump sum? How are you going to pay it off in graduation?
No, you can put in all your different loans individually.
Okay.
So your terms, what kind of loan it is, and the calculator takes that into consideration. It also will show you what sort of benefits that consolidation would offer you. A lot of students, when they graduate, they are, they have 10 different student loans, all with different payments, different servicers. It gets very confusing. So they think about consolidation, but consolidation doesn't always save you money. And this calculator can show you kind of the costs and benefits of each option. And the third thing that the tool does, which I think is very beneficial, is it shows you how much federal loans are available. So, federal loans are much preferred over private loans because they're cheaper. There's preferential loan programs built into the different loans that the government provides. And there's limits per year on how much students can take out. And this calculator will actually show you those limits, show you how much federal loans you might be eligible for, so you can avoid those more costly private loans.
I think the really good advice about that when you're taking a look at that loan tool is to understand that it may make more sense to borrow $5,000 a year than to wait till your 4th year and borrow $20,000. If in your college budget you're going to be $20,000 short, and so that's great. I think that's a great tool, and I think one that I really recommend all students understand before they even get started how they're going to pay for the whole college. I saw also that you have a financial literacy, or you have some more other tools that are just for financial information. Is that on the NerdWallet or also the NerdScholar side that talks about kind of teaching you terms or articles about managing budgets and such? Is that general information, or how does that work?
The entire NerdWallet site is really a financial literacy site. We have a lot more tools other than just for college. We have for your personal finances, your banking, whether that's finding the best credit card for you or avoiding checking account fees. We have tools that'll save you money when you're traveling. If you're an investor, you can find what's the best brokerage account. So the entire site is, I like to call it a financial literacy site. But we have specific resources on NerdScholar more focused on students. So understanding the different types of accounts you can open, avoiding the common scams that banks like to prey on students when it comes to credit cards or prepaid debit cards. We have videos, we have infographics that show you what you should be doing at what age, making sure that you're kind of building up your credit, your personal banking, and your kind of financial literacy skills. So that's all kind of stuff that we like to incorporate in all of our tools. And within the NerdScholar area of our site, we have specific tools focused on college students.
One of the things that you also mentioned to me is that you do have a grant from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? Because I think people are always interested in knowing where the Gates Foundation, where they're putting their money. Sure.
And this is, again, I like to kind of call us sometimes we operate like a .org site. And one of the things we did earlier this year is we applied for a grant, part of the College Knowledge Challenge grant initiative, and we were selected as one of the 20 winners of that grant. And that grant is actually funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And what we're trying to do with our grant money is actually build a very comprehensive guide and information resource for the FAFSA, for the free application for federal student aid. And right now, if you look, there's a lot of information around the internet about the FAFSA, but it's all over the place. It's hard to find the exact answer that you're looking for, and it's a very complicated application. For anyone who's gone through it, I'm sure they're nodding their head right now.
Absolutely.
And so what we want to do is we want to actually build a tool that will help students fill out the FAFSA, specifically first generation and low income students that really are confused about what the application is and what the benefit is. So this tool will have a lot of information, step-by-step guides, and most importantly, it's actually going to help connect students with financial aid administrators so they can submit a question to this platform, search for answers, and then if the question hasn't been answered before, we'll get a financial aid administrator to answer it for you and provide an answer in real time.
So if we're talking to parents of seniors or older now, do we expect that you'll have this tool in place before January 1st for the 2014 FAFSA when it comes out?
Absolutely. We're working on it right now, and we're going to have a soft launch in the summer and just have everything fine-tuned and ready to go in the fall. So it will be up and running before FAFSA season next year.
Perfect. And talk to me a little bit about the college comparison tool that you have on site. What kind of information do you have on that college comparison tool?
So one of the things, you talk a lot about the cost of college, and we talk a lot about financial aid. One of the things I like to emphasize is choosing the best college for you. And, MIT was, I think, the best choice for me in the future that I wanted to have. And one of the reasons I took on so much debt is because I knew that hopefully my salary when I graduate will be able to support that debt. Unfortunately, a lot of students are accepting and going to schools and taking on exceptional amounts of debt and not finding job prospects afterwards. So what we wanted to do with this college comparison tool is we wanted to provide a resource where students can actually take a look at some of those graduation salaries and job prospects for different schools. So if you're considering several different schools and want to see maybe what engineers are making at Carnegie Mellon versus Stanford, that's actually what this tool will do. And that is a great resource in terms of figuring out, can I afford this school and will I be able to afford the debt levels that I have afterwards?
Well, I think that data is really interesting. Sometimes when we do that research, and there's been a lot of reports out there, which I'm sure you guys evaluate to make sure that they're valid, but the fact that oftentimes it may not make sense to spend more to go to a more expensive college to get the degree, and in other times, I think in your example, you've used it as your example that you think you've made some great contacts through MIT and you got a great education, that it was worth spending more money. So I think that it's something that every family wants to take advantage of. So the college comparison tool sounds like a great tool. We've only got probably about another minute, Joe. So I just wanted you tell me, is there anything else that you wanted to share about, kind of give you 10 seconds to give me your last lines on NerdScholar?
Oh, well, I'd say just going out and finding the best information that you can find is very critical in making your decisions. And we strive at NerdScholar to provide the best data for people. We don't want to make the decisions for you. We want to give you the tools so that you can make the best decisions. So from choosing your college to financing your schools to paying back that debt afterwards. These are huge life decisions, and we want to do everything that we can to provide you guys with the best resources that we can.
Hey, Joe, thanks so much for joining us on College Smart Radio. To learn more about NerdWallet and NerdScholar, you can check out their websites at nerdwallet.com and nerdscholar.com. And there's also a link to NerdScholar on our website, collegesmartradio.com. Well, that wraps up another weekly show of College Smart Radio. We hope you picked up some new information today that helps you figure out ways to manage the runaway costs of college. For a link to a podcast of this show and our prior weekly shows, go to our website, collegesmartradio.com. This is Beatrice Schultz. Thanks for tuning in to College Smart Radio. We look forward to sharing more helpful information with you next week.
You've been listening to College Smart Radio with certified financial planner Beatrice Schultz. If you have questions on today's topic, log on to collegesmartradio.com or call area code 650-587-1559. That's 650-587-1559. Join us next week at this time for another edition of College Smart Radio on AM 1220 KDOW.